Very important interview. The chair of the Public Inquiry into the Earthquake Commission, Dame Silvia Cartwright, is encouraging people to have their say as she considers what changes may be needed to the EQC's handling of future natural disasters. No easy task. And Dame Silvia Cartwright joins me live in the studio. Good morning and nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
You have got, and your team, a very big task. Why on earth would you want to take on something as big as this?
Well, I've been asked that quite a few times, and basically my answer is that I said, why me, and was eventually persuaded to do it. So, of course, I'm happy to undertake this duty.
And I think many people in Christchurch would thank you for this, because I think this has always been needed. And to be fair on Minister Megan Wood, she, even before she was in government, always said to me there needed to be an inquiry to see how to do things better. So tell me about the parameters, if you like, of this inquiry. What are you wanting to get out of this, or what do you need from the general public?
Well, the EQC has been around for a long time, and with the massive events of Christchurch and subsequent events, other earthquake events such as Seddon, Ekatahuna and the Edgecombe floods, the government has decided that it's time to do a thorough review of the EQC's operations, its model, bring it up to date, and with the knowledge of what happened in these events, improve its operations and its practices for the future. But one of the most important parts is to ensure that the people who have gone through the experiences and have had, for the first time in their lives, had to interact with the EQC and their own insurers, it's vital to hear from those people who have the best possible information for me for how to improve EQC for future like events.
And you've already begun to start meeting with various parties involved or that hold the relevant information, and not just EQC but community groups as well. Can you tell me a little bit more about this community reference group, which is made up of leaders from Christchurch? So that'd be quite important for our listeners, I think.
Yes, it's a vital part of the inquiry that I'm undertaking, because I need to hear from the people who've gone through these experiences. I've established a community reference group to assist me in reaching out and finding information from as wide a portion of the public as I possibly can, not just in Christchurch but beyond Christchurch as well. And that group comprises people who have particular skills or knowledge or experience in the Christchurch community. Now, I'm not just focused on Christchurch, but Christchurch is where the biggest events took place. So I'm not establishing similar reference groups for other parts of the country. But I know that the information and the knowledge that they have will help me not only here, but well beyond Christchurch. I've met with them so far, and they've given me some very good assistance and are continuing to do so, how to communicate, whom to communicate with, and so on. And I think it's a vital tool in my toolkit.
I think it's probably important to also point out to the listeners and those watching this on Facebook what this public inquiry doesn't cover. So you're not going to be inundated with people talking about perhaps their current experiences or hoping that you're going to solve their EQC issues, because that's quite separate, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. There are a wide range of opportunities through other processes to sort out where there are disputes, say with EQC or private insurers, where to go for advice about how to get repairs done and so on. There's a wide range of groups, such as the Greater Christchurch Claims Resolution Service. My job is to focus on the future and the shape of the EQC for the future, so that the experiences we've had here locally in Christchurch will be built into a better model for future natural disasters, because I'm sorry to say there will be future natural disasters in New Zealand. They might not just be earthquakes, of course. They could be other sorts of events which EQC covers. So I'm not dealing with existing claims at all. The courts and other resolution services are there for that purpose. I'm not covering again ground that's already been covered by internal inquiries, because there have been a number of those. I'm looking to the future.
And when I'm thinking about things, when you think about, for example, the February 2011 earthquake, there have been significant events since then. When I'm thinking about the North Canterbury earthquake near Kaikoura, you've got the decent-sized shake near Wellington as well, which has forced the closure of many public buildings there. So this is why this review, I guess, is important. I want to get some clarification on something I find interesting, is that it says the scope can include finding fault, but it will not apportion blame. So if you find fault, maybe it's a bit hard to look into the future in that crystal ball, but what sort of things does that mean? I mean, does it mean the processes that may have caused more heartache or more unnecessary stress for victims, communication? Is it that sort of thing? Do you expect to cover off?
Yes, well, without reaching any conclusions, because it's far too early to do that, an example could be that EQC needed much better IT services. It needed better focus on customer relations, things like that. So that is, in a sense, finding fault. But I'm not going to turn around and say, and the general manager is responsible for doing that. That's not the point. The point is to look to the future and improve on an existing model, which hasn't really been reviewed thoroughly as to its principles and its objectives for a very long time.
What's the time frame of this review? No pressure?
Yes. Well, no pressure, no. I'm hoping to have a report to the Governor-General and therefore to the Minister by the end of this year. There is a current date where I've undertaken to give an interim report which will cover process and how we're getting along, and that will be by the end of June. But basically the report, you can look for that towards the end of this year.
And people can now start contacting your team as well, can't they, to actually, I guess, have their say on what happened for them and to share their experiences.
Yes, I'm really optimistic that I'll get a wide range of views from the public. We have a website which gives guidance on it as to how to contact us, the sorts of issues that I'm interested in, because it's not easy for people to sort out what I need to know. I'm sure they'll give me a lot of information which, while interesting, won't be that relevant to my terms of reference. That will all be treated with the utmost respect, but I have a job to do and I have to follow terms of reference and report on those. So we've tried to give as much guidance as possible on the website, and there'll also be paper-based equivalents, public libraries, Citizens Advice Bureau, places like that.
The website is eqcinquiry.govt.nz. We'll put that on our Facebook page and online. Personally for you, Dame Silvia Cartwright, what an amazing responsibility, because you and your team are going to be in a position to affect change of what is one of the most important organisations for the citizens of New Zealand. How does that cross your mind? Because it must have.
Well, I try not to be bowed down by it, but you're right in saying it's an incredibly important organisation. It's probably unique in the world.
It is.
That the government has set up a structure which goes back, 2 or 3 generations now, to support people when their homes are damaged or demolished by major natural events. It doesn't happen in California where there are earthquakes. It certainly wasn't there when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. And there's no such organisation in Japan, which is as earthquake prone as New Zealand is. So I think we should be really proud of our innovative thinking. And I think it's really important to sustain this model for future generations of New Zealanders and to make sure it's the best we can possibly make it.
Dame Silvia Cartwright, it's nice to meet you, and thank you very much for your service and for your time this morning.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. It is News Talk ZB 20 past